All right, let's dive into this whole mindset of the rich idea. We're going to be unpacking a Robert Kiyosaki interview today, and I'm sure, like a lot of us, you've at least heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic.
Yeah, even if it sometimes feels a little too simple, like just become an entrepreneur and boom, instant wealth.
Yeah, right.
But here's the thing, his ideas really seem to click with people.
For sure.
So we thought it'd be interesting to really dig into his perspective, see what we could learn, what nuggets of wisdom we could pull out. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, Kiyosaki doesn't really hold back, right?
No, he doesn't.
He basically comes right out and says, that traditional advice, go to school, get a good job, save your money, outdated.
Yeah.
He throws down the gauntlet on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's not like those are bad things, but
Right.
it's not like that old playbook is always a surefire path to success these days.
Exactly. And think about it. We've seen massive changes to the economy, even just in the past few years.
Inflation through the roof, wages haven't kept up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
This whole gig economy, the whole entrepreneurial spirit has exploded, right?
For sure.
Kiyosaki is tapping into this feeling that maybe, just maybe, our parents' path to success isn't the only way anymore.
Right. And his big alternative, of course, is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But he's always talking about it being a mindset shift. It's not just about launching a business.
He's totally right. Entrepreneurship, it forces you to develop a different set of skills. Financial literacy, handling risk, resilience, things you don't always learn in a traditional job.
Right.
It's about building the skills, the capacity to thrive in a world that feels, let's be honest, pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
Not just seeking out the perceived safety of a 9-to-5.
Which, honestly, I think a lot of people can relate to, right?
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of being stuck in the working for the paycheck cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Kiyosaki talks about this aha moment he had, getting his last paycheck, a $30,000 bonus check. And this wave of excitement, but also dread washed over him.
Yeah. That's such a powerful anecdote.
Yeah.
Because it highlights the psychological shift he's talking about, right?
Totally.
It's security versus freedom.
Yeah.
Even if it means taking on more risk. It's really asking us to question some ingrained beliefs about work and wealth.
Speaking of questioning beliefs, can we talk about his take on debt? This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little controversial.
Yeah.
He's a huge advocate for using debt to build wealth, going so far as to say that it makes the rich richer.
Right.
He even gives this whole example of refinancing $300 million in debt.
Okay, we got to unpack this carefully.
Yes.
Because this is where nuance is super important.
Yes.
Kiyosaki is not advocating racking up credit card debt or living beyond your means.
No.
You got to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
He's talking about using debt strategically
Right.
to invest in assets that generate income.
So it's more about the kind of debt.
Yes.
Not just blindly taking on more of it.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Taking out a loan to buy a rental property,
Yeah.
that brings in more money than the loan payments. That's using debt strategically, like a tool.
Right.
Maxing out your credit card on a shopping spree, that's the kind of debt that Kiyosaki is warning against.
Right. Okay. So big difference there.
Huge. And he argues that understanding this difference, especially how it relates to taxes and the financial system, it's key. It's a key difference in how the wealthy think about money.
Okay, so it's like playing financial Tetris, except the blocks are tax deductions and the game never actually ends.
Yeah,
Fun, right?
it's a lifelong game. But in all seriousness, his point is there are strategies, there are tools available. Understanding them can make a big difference.
Okay, so we talked about using debt strategically. Now, Kiyosaki says another way the wealthy think differently is about taxes. He argues that the tax system is kind of rigged against employees, that it benefits investors, which you have to admit kind of makes sense to people, especially if you're working harder but not getting ahead.
Oh, absolutely. It's like that whole taxed when you earn, taxed when you spend.
Exactly.
And there's definitely a sense that the system can feel a bit overwhelming,
Totally.
even if those taxes are funding important things that we all rely on.
Right. It's interesting, though, that he brings this up because it kind of connects to his whole thing about internal economy versus external economy. What's he getting at with that?
So this is where his message gets really empowering, I think.
Okay.
He's basically saying, look, you can't always control what happens in the overall economy.
Right.
Inflation, interest rates, the stock market, all that. That's the external economy.
Right.
But you can control your internal economy,
Okay.
your skills, your mindset, your financial education.
It's like he's saying, hey, instead of just worrying about the storm that everyone else is talking about, How about we build a stronger boat?
Yes, exactly. It's a shift in focus.
Yeah.
He's not denying, that economic hardship exists out there in the world.
Right.
But it's more like, what can you control?
Right. In your own financial life.
Yeah. I like that because it's so easy to feel powerless when you're just bombarded with negative news about the economy all the time.
Right.
This idea of focusing on your internal economy
Yeah.
just feels a lot more actionable,
Absolutely. And it's funny. This actually ties back to Kiyosaki's whole thing about mistakes,
Okay.
which we touched on a bit earlier.
Yeah.
He has a really interesting perspective on failure.
Oh, yeah. He's big on entrepreneurs learning from their mistakes.
Big time.
Almost like leveling up in a video game.
Precisely. He doesn't just see mistakes as setbacks. He sees them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Classic growth mindset stuff.
Which, let's be honest, it's easier said than done.
Oh, 100%.
Our instinct is usually to avoid mistakes.
Right.
At all costs.
Right.
It can be tough to reframe those moments as valuable.
100%. And I think Kiyosaki would be the first to admit that it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But he's essentially saying, look, you're going to make mistakes in life.
It's inevitable.
Right.
So you might as well learn from them and get better.
Yeah.
Instead of letting those mistakes just totally derail you,
Totally.
you use them to figure out a better strategy for the next level.
It's a really powerful way to look at it.
It is. And it circles back to that whole idea of controlling your internal economy, right?
Yeah.
You can't always prevent setbacks, but you can choose how you respond to them.
Right.
And Kiyosaki really believes that this ability to adapt and learn from mistakes, that's crucial for building long-term success.
It's almost like he's saying, don't be afraid of the game over. Just use it to learn how to get to the next level.
Yeah.
So where does all this leave us? We've gone through outdated mindsets, how to think differently about debt, in a responsible way, of course, and how to reframe mistakes as learning opportunities.
Kiyosaki's interview, it's definitely thought-provoking. You can agree or disagree with, the specific tactics he talks about, but I think he highlights something really important. Your mindset matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're trying to build wealth through entrepreneurship, real estate, any other path, like your beliefs about money, about risk, about success. Those are going to play a huge role in what actually happens.
It's like that Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. And I think that's why Kiyosaki's work, continues to resonate with so many people.
Yeah.
He's challenging us to examine those deep-seated beliefs and to ask ourselves, is this mindset helping me or is it holding me back?
It's a question worth asking.
It is.
So as a final thought for our listeners to kind of chew on, if you could change your financial situation as quickly as you can change your mind, what shift would you need to make today? What belief would you need to embrace to unlock that next level for yourself?
That's the question right there.
That's it for our deep dive this time. Make sure to join us next time when we'll be discussing